Now that Lupa's been around for a while, I had my fair share of fun with her, and today we'll be looking at her best teams and combos that are easy to do with maximum benefits that I am able to find. Thankfully, the default combo for it is very easy to do, but a different structure arises if you swap her team around, which will be the case for a lot of people considering we all have different accounts. With all that said, let's just jump in with the first team, which I think is the best team for now. The team is the obvious Lupa, Brant, and Changli. I dived into this team and combo in my guide video, but for this one, I'll quickly bring you through how to play it and discuss on the pros and cons of the team. To start, you want to take note of two things. Firstly, you want to actually make sure your Lupa has at least 110% energy regen. In fact, I personally recommend 120% just so no matter what team you have Lupa in, you will likely have enough energy to go around. Secondly, this is optional, but using Nightmare Inferno Rider as the main echo in your Changli will be ideal since you gain 12% fusion damage bonus and 12% resistance skill damage bonus just by equipping it. This is really big because you don't have to use the echo itself in combat, which does save a lot of time considering Changli needs quite the long field time. Finally, do note that the video mostly showcases how the combo plays out. My stats and commitments are all lowered to show the full combo. Plus, I am literally completely broke after building Zaddy's team and Kartetia's team in the past few weeks, so yeah, it kind of just works out. Do understand that with realistically achievable endgame builds on all these characters, you can 3-star any of the endgame content. Do not worry about that. With that said, let's jump in with the combo showcase. Pull up your game and try it out if you like. Now with this team, you want to start with Lupa. Use your skill twice and then use your echo, and then her liberation, followed by 5 total normal attacks. Doing so, you'll max out Forte plus it enhances them with a wolf icon, and the moment this happens, your enhanced skill will be available. Use that and you regenerate a good chunk of your ult energy too. This is crucial to ensure smooth rotation. With that done, trigger Brant's intro, use his ult, then 3 basic attacks. As he lands on ground, use his resonance skill to max his Forte, then use your enhanced resonance skill. Once the attack lands, use his echo, then trigger Changli's intro skill. Start with a basic to gain 1 bar of Forte, then charge attack to land on ground, use 3 basics to get another bar of Forte. Here's where you use your skill into a basic attack, do it twice in total, which will gain her 2 bars of Forte. Now that it's maxed, use your charge attack to clear out your Forte and do massive damage. Then use your ult again to recharge your Forte. Use charge attack again and you're done. This is where you want to trigger Lupa's intro skill, which does the highest damage on her kit, and then repeat the cycle. I did basically cover this in the guide video, so it's just a repeat of that same team, right? But yep, this is easily the best team for Lupa in my opinion right now, with the pros being that Lupa's entire kit is maximized with 3 fusion characters used. The only con with this team is honestly Changli needing quite the lengthy field time, but it does technically get resolved if you're really good with playing her animation cancels and such, and those combos exist, however they're just really difficult to pull off and quite inconsistent to do unless you're like a hyper genius. But overall, I rate this team a very nice 8 out of 10. It's easy to do, it's smooth, and the performance is good enough to 3-star clear stuff that you need as long as you have a realistically decent investment on your team. The reason why this isn't like a 10 out of 10 team is obviously just because there are stronger teams that exist that can also be played easily, something like Kartetia or a Zaddy team. But hey, this team is still very fun to play, and I do quite enjoy it myself. Now then, let's move on to the next team, and this will be the team with anything to do with Shorekeeper or Verena instead of Changli. I chose Brant as the DPS in this case, but you can swap this out for any other fusion-based character that can deal damage. I chose Brant for this one because he does do damage, and he's probably the easiest one to do. This team's idea is that if you don't have a full fusion squad, slapping in the strong buffers in the game will still prove effective. And sure enough, it is a solid team. However, this is where I suggest going with 120% energy regen on Lupa, just to make sure your rotation runs smoothly. But honestly, you can always just hit an enemy a few more times if you lack that last bit of energy. Missing some attacks or being attacked happens in combat, so no biggie. To start with Shorekeeper, do 4 basics followed by a charged attack, then use 4 basics again, plus another charged attack, then use your echo, then your ultimate, and then your skill. This is pretty much a very generic Shorekeeper combo. You can do it differently as long as you get your consider and ultimate up. Then swap to Lupa, do the exact same Lupa combo, start with 2 skills, then her echo, then her ult, followed by 5 basics. It maxes your Forte, enhances them with a wolf mark, then you use your enhanced skill. After that, triggers Brant's intro, start with 3 basics, and as he lands, use his ultimate. You'll be airborne again thanks to the ultimate, and this is where you can use your basics 3 times again, max your Forte, then finish with your enhanced skill, then echo. After that, you should still have enough time to trigger Shorekeeper's enhanced intro skill. That's also thanks to Brant being a really quick character, right? After that, simply repeat the process and you have your rotation. The pros of this team is that this is the easiest Lupa team with very solid performance. Expect this team to still fall behind in damage output compared to using Changli. Obviously, she's a whole other damage dealer, but it's not at all a terrible team. You can certainly swap out Brant for another fusion DPS like I did with Encore, and the logic is still the same. You're buffing the whole team with Shorekeeper, then Lupa buffs your fusion DPS. The cons of this team is definitely the lack of maximizing Lupa's buff where you don't have 3 fusion DPS, but I do recommend trying this team out, especially if you obtain the S3 for Lupa, where it removes the criteria of needing 3 fusion characters on the team. It is a solid team, a good 7 out of 10 for me, and there are actually a more advanced playstyle for this team that includes more swapping, but it may be a bother to learn right now. Perhaps I'll make a video on the hard combo soon though. And do keep in mind, this is not a team that can just go toe-to-toe with a Cartetia or Zanny team, but do not worry, you're clearing everything if you have a realistically achievable endgame build. I will say the damage output of this team is not going to be as explosive as Changli's team, so you may want to have a pretty good Brant and Lupa, but it is definitely achievable, so yeah, if you like the team, give it a shot. Moving up next are the more challenging teams, but they still perform very well, and this is in my opinion the more awkward scenario, where we would assume that you do not have Brant. I personally do know a lot of people that skip Brant because fusion team in general was less prevalent before, but Lupa came and swept all our hearts by storm, and I do know a lot of people that went for Lupa, right? You can still use Lupa even without Brant, but you do still need a Changli on this team, with the last character being another fusion DPS. The best option in my opinion would be Encore since you don't have Brant, right? Changli does buff basic damage, which Encore also does on her alt forms basic, so it does check out decently. With the setup, you're looking for a 120% energy regen on Lupa, and use the Nightmare Inferno Rider on both Encore and Changli. Reason being, you don't want to use the Echo itself, you just want the buffs from equipping it. Now with this team, you start with Lupa. I sound like a broken record, but you want to do the same thing. Do 2 skills, then her Echo, then her Liberation, 5 basics, then enhanced skill once it's available. Then trigger Encore's intro skill. This is where you want to start for ultimate. Then use her skill immediately. After that, it'll go on cooldown, use 4 basic attacks. The moment her Woolly appears on her 4th basic, dodge with Encore. That will cancel a bit of animation, save you some time, then you can do 4 basics again. The moment her Woolly appears this time, use her skill instead. It does the same function of canceling her animation. Now use her basic 4 times again, which should end her ult's duration, and this is where you use her normal form skill, and as you do so, trigger Changli's intro skill. And now with Changli, do the same thing with her. Start with a basic to gain 1 bar, then charge attack to land on ground, 3 basics to get another bar, then skilled into basic twice. Now we have max forte, use her charge attack, then use her ult, then use her charge attack again. This is the standard Changli rotation, and if you have done all of this without much interruption or mishap, you will still have enough time to trigger Lupa's enhanced intro skill that does deal very good damage. After that, repeat the cycle and you're good. The pros of this team is obviously still being able to maximize Lupa's buff with 3 fusion characters, but the cons does show with the more timing dependent rotation. It may be more challenging to do for players and with the boss, zipping around and such, but it is still a very valid team that can 3-star clear TOA given realistically decent investments. I rate this team a solid 7 out of 10 still. It is a very fun team and I quite enjoy it considering, well, Encore is a double character after all. To be able to fit her in this fusion team is always nice, and I'll say right now, the peak of this team is going to be very, very high considering Encore and Changli can both do a lot of animation cancels or swap canceling, and the skill cap for this team is really high. I think it's always nice to sometimes have a challenging team that you just want to give it a shot. Well, you can. This team is awesome. But the combo that I showed is really just a very generic one. You are using some animation cancels, some simple ones like with Encore, but they are definitely advanced ones, which I'll need time to practice myself if I'm going to make a video on it. So yeah, with all that said, let's conclude on all these different teams for Lupa. The important thing to note is that do remember that there are a lot of different ways to use these characters and teams, some with crazy swap cancel mechanics that you wouldn't even dare imagine doing, which ultimately makes these teams perform at an even better level. So what you're seeing right now is not like the end-all be-all of what Lupa can perform. What I've shown though are still realistic teams that anyone can pick up and try, and I also share my personal opinions on them, right? Numerically speaking, none of these teams can outperform the greatest teams we have at higher tiers like Cartetia, but as long as they can 3-star endgame stuff every update, I'm happy with it. The game is a lot more fun when you just enjoy the characters that you want to play with after all, right? Speaking of which, there are definitely more options for teams. For instance, using Chisia instead of Encore, or using Sanhua if you really don't have Shorekeeper or if she's on another team. Obviously, they will increase the investment requirement on your teams if you do so, but it is still not impossible to achieve, 3-star clears for TOA, for example, even with these substitutions. With all that said, I hope I helped you out, and do share in the comments down below what your best team that you're using your Lupa with. If I get time, I really want to practice a really tough and hardcore swap cancel, animation cancel, Changli/Brant, which is also an advanced playstyle where you get to just fly around on the sky with Brant and Changli swapping all around. It looks insane, and I'll tell you, the amount of skill ceiling there are with a Lupa team is very, very high. Well, I hope you guys still enjoyed this one where it's more general though, and yeah, do give it a shot if you have time. That'll be all. Take care.